They called him the next Pelé. They predicted a Ballon d'Or. They expected the greatest of his generation. Instead, he became a meme, a punchline, a cautionary tale. In 2011, a Copa Libertadores winner at 19. By 2015, part of a treble-winning Barcelona side. Come 2017, the most expensive transfer in history. And in 2023, face down on the turf, career in pieces, 4 moments, 1 man. What happened to Neymar? This is the rise and fall of Neymar, but to understand how far he fell, you need to see how high he flew. Welcome back to Last Touch, the channel where we break down football's biggest rises, falls, and everything in between. If you're new here, this is a good one to start with. Let's get into it. Before the tattoos, before the yellow hair, before the flopping memes, there was a kid who made grown professionals look silly. Neymar broke into the Santos first team as a teenager, and he immediately made seasoned defenders look amateur. His dribbling wasn't just effective, it was theatrical. Step-overs, no-look passes, nutmegs he didn't need, but attempted anyway, purely for the fun of it. Brazil hadn't produced a wonder kid this exciting since Ronaldo, and comparisons followed him everywhere he went. In 2011, he delivered the moment that turned hype into legitimacy. He lifted the Copa Libertadores with Santos, South America's biggest club prize. He wasn't a highlight reel anymore. He was a winner. Sponsors noticed fast. Magazine covers noticed fast. Even rival clubs noticed fast and circled him years before he turned 18. Santos built entire seasons around one simple plan: give the ball to Neymar and get out of his way. By the time he left for Barcelona in 2013, Neymar had become more than Brazil's best young player. He stood as the second most famous footballer alive, right behind Messi. Joining Barcelona meant joining Lionel Messi. For most players, that kills individual stardom on arrival. For Neymar, it worked for a while. The MSN trio Messi, Suarez, Neymar terrorized world football. In 2015, they won everything: La Liga, the Copa del Rey, the Champions League. Neymar scored in that Champions League final. He was 23, a treble winner, sharing a front line with the best player who ever touched a ball. This was peak Neymar, not the richest version, not the most famous version, the best version, the one where the football did all the talking. Defenders feared him, teammates trusted him, Barcelona fans chanted his name alongside Messi's, and for a stretch, that felt completely normal. But one quiet detail mattered more than anyone realized at the time. Even inside the most feared attack in football, Neymar still ranked third. Third in Ballon d'Or conversations, third in the dressing room pecking order, talented enough to shine, but never positioned to lead. That detail would rewrite the rest of his career. And in 2017, it did, with one decision the football world is still arguing about. In the summer of 2017, Neymar shattered football's financial ceiling. Paris Saint-Germain triggered his release clause, 222 million euros, and doubled the previous world transfer record in a single stroke. On paper, the logic made sense. PSG offered him his own team, his own spotlight, and a real shot at the Ballon d'Or, finally out of Messi's shadow. In practice, this decision became the hinge point of his entire career, the single choice everything afterward traces back to, for better and mostly for worse. The transfer changed the market too. Clubs everywhere recalibrated what a superstar was worth, and that record-breaking number followed Neymar's name ever since. Every transfer window since has measured itself against that one deal, but the price tag came with a weight he wasn't ready for. Quick thing before we go on, if you're into these deep dive breakdowns, hit subscribe. It helps the channel grow. Now back to the story. The PSG years should have crowned Neymar's career. Instead, they exposed exactly how talent collides with fragility, both physical and reputational. Injuries piled up almost every season, foot fractures, hamstring strains, knee problems. Each one wiped out his most important stretches of form. He'd look unstoppable for 3 months, then vanish for 6. Then came the 2018 World Cup, and the moment that still follows him everywhere, the rolling. A foul dropped him. Real pain, or exaggerated pain, depending on who you ask, but the internet had already found its villain. Compilation clips of Neymar hitting the turf racked up more views than most of his actual goals that tournament. Overnight, the narrative flipped from generational talent to punchline, and it didn't stop on the pitch. Off the pitch, the criticism kept stacking. Reports surfaced of birthday parties during injury layoffs, nightlife stories, and a growing sense that PSG's record signing wasn't treating his body like an elite athlete should. Fair or not, the story stuck. Injury history and off-pitch noise fed each other. Every fresh setback reopened the same argument. Was his body simply fragile, or did his lifestyle keep breaking it down? Neither side ever won that argument, and the constant back and forth cost him something almost as valuable as fitness, the benefit of the doubt. Then 2022 arrived, his best chance yet. He tore through the early rounds. Brazil then lost to Croatia in the quarterfinals, and there was Neymar again, in tears on the turf, a tournament that promised everything ending in nothing. In 2023, Neymar left Europe for Al Hilal in Saudi Arabia, a move that read less like a footballing decision and more like a farewell tour. The football world moved on without him. Then, in October 2023, while playing a World Cup qualifier for Brazil against Uruguay, Neymar went down and didn't get up. He tore his ACL and meniscus in his left knee. The injury shelved him for most of a year and put his entire national team career, his World Cup dream, and his physical identity as a player in doubt all at once. If this were a film, this is the frame you'd freeze on. The kid who once nutmegged 3 defenders for fun, now lying on a pitch in Montevideo, his body finally collecting on everything the game had asked of it. Doctors talked recovery timelines in months, not weeks. Pundits talked about his career in the past tense. For the first time, the conversation around Neymar wasn't about talent at all. It was about whether he had anything left to give. Then he found an answer. In January 2025, Neymar did something nobody expected. He returned to Santos, the club where it all started, now fighting relegation instead of chasing trophies. Nothing about it was glamorous. Injuries followed him there too. Muscle strains, a meniscus problem that required surgery in December. But when Santos needed him most, in their final run of matches, he delivered. He scored the goals that kept his boyhood club in Brazil's top flight. He re-signed through the end of 2026 with 1 goal stated out loud, reached the World Cup. Not to add to a trophy case that already holds almost everything, a World Cup medal remains the one line missing from his legacy. The comeback wasn't a straight line either. Coach Dorval Jr. recalled him for qualifiers at one point, then Neymar withdrew because of discomfort. Critics piled back on, relegation talk grew louder, and still, when the games mattered most, he found 5 goals in 5 matches and dragged Santos to safety. It worked. Brazil boss Carlo Ancelotti named him in the 26-man squad. 3 years after that night in Montevideo, Neymar earned another World Cup, but earning the spot was only half the story. And this is where the story gets interesting because it hasn't ended yet. A calf injury cost Neymar Brazil's tournament opener. Ancelotti has since declared him fully fit, but he isn't starting. And by every account, he isn't happy about it. A player who once carried entire teams on his back now watches from the bench at the exact tournament he rebuilt his whole career to reach. Cameras catch him pacing the touchline, wearing his frustration openly, not bothering to hide it. Fans back home argue daily about whether Ancelotti should start him. They analyze every training session for clues nobody can confirm. Is this a redemption arc? A cautionary tale? A player getting one last real shot? Or a story that already wrote its ending back in 2018? Nobody knows yet. Not us, not Ancelotti, probably not even Neymar, but maybe the answer was never the point. Maybe that's the most honest way to end this. Neymar's career never fit neatly into rise or fall. It's been both constantly at the same time. Brilliance and self-sabotage, joy and controversy, genius and fragility, often inside the same 90 minutes. If you enjoyed this one, subscribe to Last Touch. We're breaking down the biggest rises, falls, and everything in between, all tournament long.